Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another Indie Comics Talk. Tonight, got with me the writer of Endangered from Blood Moon Comics and a local to my area, and I got to meet him very recently at my local comic shop, Jon McCarthy.
Hey, everybody. We're working.
I know we're on a little bit of a slight technical difficulty delay here, and we're working with it tonight. But thank you for coming on.
Oh man, thank you so much for having me, dude. I'm actually really truly honored to be on the show with you.
Thank you.
Your screen is fully black for me now, so hopefully people.
Oh shoot! Well, those out there in the chat, chime in. Let us know if they see us or hear us. I'm also gonna check what's happening on. You are right, on the YouTube page. I am currently not showing up, so I'm having technical difficulties as well.
Whack.
We're just dealing with them live.
Yeah. New Orleans is storming outside. It's probably, I'm sure, a factor in all of this craziness, man.
What on earth?
Got a big blue box that says I'm in the show. I don't know if I'll get to see comments or not. I'm not seeing anything yet, but
so bizarre. I do not know what's going on with me not showing up, but let me turn my camera off and back on. Am I there now?
Nope.
Cool.
I'm still not seeing you.
All right. I will be right back in here. I'm going to refresh.
Okay. I got the whole screen to myself now. I don't know who's in here, but thanks for joining us. Looking forward to a very interesting conversation. As Jeremy just mentioned, we got to meet this weekend. There he is. Now I got
There we go. I exist.
There he is. I have a very uneventful background going on here. But,
Oh, yeah.
Yours are visually, aesthetically pleasing than mine.
Just throwing a bunch of stuff up here. Nathan.
Hey, that's my that's the man without whom Endangered would not exist. He is the we created a position for him in the credits page of the book. I think we called him like a development producer or something.
I did see someone listed as like I saw the acknowledgement and then the title.
Yeah. You never
see
he
is.
In a comic credit page, but ultimately what that translates to is he pays all the artists to do the work on the book. So
nice.
He's the man without which it would not happen, for sure. He's become my my creative partner because as you probably know, it's when you're trying to do a book and work with professional art teams, that's what they do for a living, man. So you have to pay those guys their salaries. So to get quality people, which I feel like we definitely have on this book, I can get a little so unfortunately for me, I don't have those resources available. And then my buddy Nathan there came on board with us and like the script and the idea and the concept enough to kind of put some of his money behind it, which is pretty awesome. So he's my homeboy. Yeah, big time.
Welcome in, Nathan, and thank you for believing in his story and putting it out there for everybody.
Yep.
Getting it to the place that it is. That's
it.
Yeah. So for those that may not have heard about Endangered yet, because they're sleeping under a rock, I guess, what is it about?
So the concept of this story is, this was my first crack at a science fiction story. And I've been asked a few times, like, where does it come from? And there's a few different things I think that factor into that. Ultimately, it's kind of how we are as a society today, where everybody's, blah, 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 blah. I feel like that sort of toxicity is not tenable after a while, especially on a large scale. And if that's not mitigated in some way, something bad is going to happen. So in our story, it kind of sets slightly into the future, and that's kind of where it ends at. And that ending, unfortunately for humanity, is in a global nuclear war. fortunately, there was a group of scientists that were able to kind of extrapolate this curve and see where it was headed, and put some measures in place to kind of counter what they saw as inevitable. So they kind of haul ass up into space with this grand plan of like the most probable outcome is going to be a nuclear war. We have some scientific methods that can fix that, not if we're all ashes on the planet. So we need a safe working space to implement this plan. So that's kind of where the story begins at. And part of their plan, unfortunately, they don't realize they kind of rained down this substance onto this one area of Earth that avoided a direct strike with one of the missiles. And one of the unintended side effects or consequences of what they've been doing is they didn't factor in that nuclear war doesn't kill everything. There are some living species that survive, primarily insects. And those little bastards have been gobbling down this stuff they've been raining down to lower radiation levels, and it kind of kicks in their evolutionary process. So over the course that this treatment occurs in the book, insects are rapidly getting larger because they are the dominant species on the planet now. And issue 1 kind of sets all of that up and gets them ready to come back down to Earth. Issue 2, they come back down to Earth, and that's when they realize, something's been going on here that
Yeah.
for us. Hey, give me 1 second while you're talking, Jeremy. I'm slacking. Apologize for the amateur antics here. I got to get my charger so my phone doesn't die in the middle of it.
You're good.
2 seconds. Be right back.
Yeah, we definitely get to see a lot of what you're just talking about, and see it happen in a very tragic way. But while he's gone, I'm going to tell you guys tonight we are giving these away. So let people know that aren't here yet if they are interested. This is the 1 in 5 variant. It is homage to which Transformers issue?
Transformers number 5.
Number 5
from the 80s.
Yeah, and so this one's signed by Jon. This one is signed by Jon, and then the cover artist, Robbie
Yep.
Musso.
Yep.
I was trying to remember his name off the top of my head.
Yeah, Musso. I always call him Musso. It could be Musso. We've never really sat down and had that formal pronunciation, but
those will be
great guy. He's a local guy. You had the opportunity to meet him this weekend. He was kind enough to join me signing at your LCS, Crescent City Comics, which was awesome shop here in New Orleans. And
shout out to the whole crew at Crescent City for bringing you guys in to do that.
That was great, man. Idris is super cool. Everybody that was there was really awesome. So I really like that shop a lot. It's a great comic book shop if anybody ever comes to New Orleans.
Yeah, and unfortunately Les wasn't able to be there, the store owner, but the whole crew there, fantastic.
Last time I saw Les, he was looked like a man with his hair on fire. I think he probably had a very overdue vacation headed his way sometime soon.
He was sick, so he's recovering. Yeah. So so awesome concept, and then seeing it in these first 2 issues, just amazing execution between you and Ron, the artist on it, Ron Joseph, putting it out there. So go ahead.
No, I was just going to say Ron is awesome, and this was hopefully it harkens back to an era of comics for those who read them that you don't, at least not regularly, see that much anymore, which was kind of just this fun science fiction setting of like, hey man, it very much came from a passion for like the 70s era sci-fi stuff in comics where just they're like, let's make a comic where these gigantic bugs are fighting humans. I mean, it's freaking awesome. They did that for a long time, and you don't really see it too much anymore these days. So we kind of wanted to kind of take it back to that kind of a vibe, and hopefully that works,
Yeah, I mean, I always love a good, like, there's a lot of new, innovative story ideas, but sometimes you just need like something with action, something that's just you can tell that you guys are having fun creating it. Yeah. You're not just like, all right, let me look up all this information and prep for this story and all of that. So that's just like I love that when the team looks like they're having fun as they create it.
Oh, we're having a blast doing it, and it's one of that's the great thing about comic books, man, is you can tell any story. There's no restraints to it whatsoever. You know, you just tell whatever you want to tell. Like I just put on social media today when we were out doing the signing on Saturday, I was able to finally pick up a copy of 8 Billion Genies, and
Yeah.
fortunately, it's on the Hoopla app, which I'm a massive fan of. I can't preach that enough through the library system. If you have a library card, especially in this area, you have free access to this app called Hoopla, which has a ton of comics on there. And I was kind of surprised that 8 Billion Genies was on there because it came out around the same time our first issue came out. And it's just outstanding comic book, you know, so you can tell those types of stories. And there's also a place for this kind of story where it's more like an alien Starship Troopers, like people fighting giant bugs, you know, type story.
Exactly. There's especially the indie comic side of things. There's just stories for everyone out there. We have a request, and I think that is a super chat, which I'm not used to seeing those. So thank you.
Big Naruto fan. Yeah. I know Dragon Ball Superhero just came out, but this Naruto shirt is pretty awesome.
Yeah. So wow. Yeah. It's the first super chat we've had in a long time. I'm not actually sure what currency that is. MYR. Did we just lose you, John? Potentially. So while he's getting reconnected here, again, hang out tonight. We're going to be giving away both the cover A and the 1 in 5 variant for homage to Transformers #5, signed by John and the artist Ron Musso, and cover A signed by John here. Everyone who's watching live right now, how are you guys doing tonight? Myanmar, maybe like a Myanmar ruble. I forget. I used to know all the world currency, and that was in middle school, so it's been a while. See, yeah, John is a little stuck at the moment, and he's reloading. So we will we'll chat about comics in the meantime. We got a couple people in watching now. Oh, there, he's back.
You got me back?
Yeah. We actually have one watching on Twitch currently, and the rest are watching on YouTube. Oh, did I lose you again?
I think I'm back.
This is the night of technical difficulties in New Orleans.
Crazy, man. Am I back on?
Yes, you are back and crystal clear, actually.
Sweet. All right.
Back and better than ever.
Awesome.
And Nathan says you need to up your phone game.
You're right about that, my friend. You're not kidding. I need to update my laptop game. Apparently, I wasn't planning on using my phone, but my laptop camera wouldn't freaking connect for some weird reason.
Yeah.
This building, there are ghosts in here, though, so maybe that's the problem.
It looks like we've got worldwide viewers right now because Nathan thinks that's from Myanmar.
Welcome.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Hopefully you check out Endangered because it's an awesome comic. Is Endangered on Hoopla? Do you know?
I didn't. You know, I haven't looked it up on there. Actually, I need to try to see if it is on there. And I know there are still, to my knowledge, online retailers that have them. You can probably find some comic shops that have them. I recently made another massive call sweep to the shops around the country who kind of came on board with us for issue #1, and it was very nice to hear that probably over 90% of the shops I talked to, they had all sold out. So the issue 1 did really well for them. But I do know places like League of Comic Geeks and shops like that, online retailers still have copies available, I'm pretty sure. Even through the Blood Moon site might have some.
Yeah.
It is digital.
Another thing is, I did link in the description below bloodmooncomicsllc.com. So they usually have, I think, as the issue releases, they put some inventory on the website. And then Nathan said it's on Amazon digitally, so probably through Comixology.
Yep.
You can check it out. So there's a couple places you can check the story out if your shop doesn't have it.
Nathan's hustling over there trying to get some money back.
Yeah, so that's I mean that's a great way to try to get it is digitally if you can't find it in person. And there may be a reason people can't find issue 2 in person. There's fewer copies out there.
Yeah, we had a big snafu on that one, man. That one, this book unfortunately has been kind of bitten by the new book bug or something. I don't know. I've heard it happen to a lot of people, but we've had some issues with Diamond, the distributor. Where between the publisher and the distributor, there's been a drop off somewhere. Like when we did the first issue, that 1 in 5 variant that you're giving away tonight, it was awesome. And we did that as a free variant for retailers because we knew. It's a gamble for a retailer to take a chance on a book with a creative team relatively unknown and from a publisher that was relatively unknown. So we really wanted to kind of make a push and entice some shops to pick up more than 1 or 2 copies. But it never got uploaded to the previews catalog. So that kind of hurt a little bit, but 1 did really well. But then there was the real big problem was our final order cutoff for issue 2 was set before issue 1 hit the stores.
Yeah.
So that was a massive hit for us, and it was just an unfortunate time. I don't think it wasn't done maliciously. No one at Diamond, I don't think I owe anyone their money or anything.
Yeah.
But
well, I think we were talking about this when you were at the shop was just like maybe because things get delayed, it wasn't intended to come out that way, and then issue 1 got pushed back past the FOC date on issue 2.
Yeah, I don't know if the readers have went through a previews catalog. They come out every month. You can get them for free at a comic book store, but they're as thick as like an old phone book or catalog. And Blood Moon on that issue 1, I'll always remember this number. We were page 262. And half of that book is comics, and then it flips upside down, so the back half is toys and all kind of action figures and statues and stuff. So we were pretty deep in the weeds back there. So again, I don't think I owe anyone at Diamond money where they're out to get me or anything like that. I think they just have there's so many things there, and it's such a constant thing that shit happens,
Yeah, once you get into that like alphabet section where it's just in alphabetical order, you're past the featured big name places. It's you gotta flip, you gotta look, you gotta scroll through and find those hidden gems out there.
It kills me because Marvel and DC have both. I just don't think it's happened yet, but they both went with other distributors like Penguin or somebody that did Marvel, I think.
Yeah, Marvel's over at Penguin. IDW's even actually followed suit there.
My thing is like, get your ass out of the previews catalog then, so we can move up to like maybe page 7 or something.
I mean the Marvel has an insert now. I think IDW's been actually pushed into the same section as where you'll find Blood Moon.
Yeah.
And then DC's not in there at all anymore. They got their whole separate catalog from Lunar.
When we came out with Endangered, we were the first book. Blood Moon had done a couple of books in the past, but they were still relatively new, and it was the books they had released, at least to my understanding, were more about trying to get the feel of the market, to get into previews, to work with this printer that they're using, which is the great printer that we're using. I mean, the quality of the book is really solid. But we were the first title that they kind of started to make their push out to carve out a bigger niche. I mean, you had on your show here the awesome guys behind, Cover the Dead with Lime, Jonathan and those other guys, Hernan and them. But they came after us. They were one of the next ones that came after us. And stuff happens, but I think the Blood Moon is now picking up more and more titles, and eventually that requires, because when ours came out, it was a little corner of page 262. It wasn't just us; it was like 4 other little publishers on page 262, and we had a little square of that, maybe an 8 each. But
now there's multiple books coming out from the publisher. Even if they don't get a featured spot, they're gonna get more space on that page.
Yeah, I think their visibility will be a little easier to find. So hopefully that continues. But unfortunately for us, we've had to kind of eat some of that for these other dudes. As the first one that comes out, you're gonna always
take away.
You're gonna take it in the face a couple of times, figuring out these little mistakes happen. The unfortunate part of it is it hurts. kind of throws you off the tracks a little bit. So we're at the process now because I feel like it's a really solid story. I mean, you've read them, and
Yeah.
all of the feedback I've gotten has been pretty positive. It's been received really well, which is awesome. I mean, of course, the people who probably hate it aren't going to reach out and say this sucks, but
They might get a rant out there on the internet, or
yeah, I haven't seen it so far. So, but
hopefully not.
so there's this, it seems like what we're doing is a cool story. So it's just now we're trying to continue to get it told, and the goal originally was to do it's an 8-issue series, issues 1 through 4, take a little pause, and then resume with 5, 6, 7, and 8. But I'll give you some breaking news on the show here was, we recently talked, and I don't think it's fully finalized yet, but it seems like what the plan is at this moment is we are going to we're going to collect, issue 3 comes out September 7th. So that's coming here shortly. Issue 4 will be about a month past that. There you go. Breaking news. We're going to be doing the trade paperback, which is 1 through 4, probably, I think, a November-ish release. And then Blood Moon, unless they change it, but as it is right now, I wasn't told not to say anything about this, so I assume it's fair game. They're going to make their first contribution to Free Comic Book Day this coming April, and they're going to be doing Endangered for a free comic book. So we're going to do our issue 1 as the Free Comic Book Day release for them, to try to get things back on track.
And get people back in, maybe get people back to the trade.
Yeah, the downside is it'll be months until the second half of the series resumes. We were originally going to shoot for January, but now we're thinking it doesn't make any sense to do that. We're going to do the April Free Comic Book Day and then pick back up May. And then because we'll have them all finished. Nathan and I, the team is continuing to work to finish the series out. It'll just be the release will be pushed back a little bit.
So that, and also it'll give Ron some time to work on the art more. And make him not have to work at your super fast pace.
I think we'll probably hopefully we will be already started on the next book by whatever we're going to do next, because I really like the team that we have on here.
Yeah.
And I was telling Nathan, the moment you set these guys loose, where they're not, or you don't have work for them to do, someone else is going to hire them.
Yeah.
Then you lose them, and it's good to work with different people. But I'm a kind of guy that when I go to a restaurant and I get something that's delicious and I love it, and I go back to that restaurant later, I don't really ever feel the need to order something else. I'm like, I know what I like here.
Yeah, I'm with you. You're like, I want to try this. But this is really good.
Yeah, that's what my wife's for. I'm like, why don't you try this? And I'll order what I usually get, and then I can try some of yours.
There we go.
But so it's with the art, the art team we have are awesome, man. And I want to keep working with these dudes on stuff on other stuff outside of Endangered in the future. But inevitably we'll have to work with other people, which is fine too. But do you have to? Hopefully we'll be able to keep working with these guys even after, because the plan for us is to have the final 4 issues practically finished before the start of the year. That way those guys are having steady paychecks, and then we have all the material done. We've got Joe Rubenstein's doing a variant cover for us, which was a big thing that just happened not terribly long ago, and that'll be for one of those issues. So we got some cool stuff coming, man. I mean, I'm excited about it, but it's kind of a bummer that we have to kind of take that big of a pause, but it's just one of those things where, the business side of it worked out that way. And we realized that there was all these hiccups on the 1 through 4 rollout, and we don't want to make those same mistakes. So we want to give everything time to settle, and then use this Free Comic Book Day thing to hopefully reach a whole bunch of new readers and stuff. And the trade will hopefully accomplish that as well, to bring on some new readers to the series, so that there's some people who are actually out there wanting it when we come back,
Absolutely. I mean, that the trade, some people read just through trades too.
Yeah.
So some people are waiting until that trade pops out, and then they're going to devour that and wait for the next trade. And
that's why, if you're out there listening, you should really go after these first print issues 1 through 4 that are hitting here, because print runs relatively, compared to I referenced earlier, 8 Billion Genies. I mean, we're not even in the same galaxy of what those guys are doing. Of course, that's the hottest book out right now. But the print runs, I mean, the collectability of the book is there. So hopefully if it continues to do well and people are seeking it out, those who have these first prints will, you'll see your collectible value go up a little bit more, because I'm a comic book collector, as are you, obviously. So, I appreciate that side of it too, as the creator, yeah, you want to, I always, in the back of my mind when we're doing this stuff, I mean, the goal is obviously, number one, to entertain people. That's the goal. It's not money. It's not, I mean, contrary to what Nathan might not want to hear, to me, it's not the goal, because I firmly believe that if you tell a good story, people will respond to it, and and dig it and pick it up, and eventually it'll find its audience. But
yeah, absolutely.
but I always have in my head the collector, the person who took a chance on the book and put up their $4 for the issue. I always want to. My goal is to never see our book in some dollar bin in a comic shop somewhere, or a quarter bin,
Right,
and to make the collectible of the comic book at least hold its value for the person who invested in it and bought it. To make it something worth collecting. Like
absolutely.
We've had some people get them graded. I was at San Diego Comic-Con and got to do my first witness signing with CGC, which was pretty cool, So the fact that someone thinks enough about it to put it in a slab is pretty cool, and spend 40, 50 bucks, whatever it takes.
Absolutely. And yeah, so we're just halfway through the first part, and there's so much more story in this world coming, which is awesome. Yeah. This is always one of those things when you're looking at an indie book and you say, all right, it's only 4 issues, but is there more after that? Right? Yeah. Like I want to see more, because oftentimes the indie series, like, unless it's like Image or Boom, it's going to be a mini series.
Yeah. Well, even 8 Billion Genies is 8 issues with, I mean, I'm sure it will be more than that eventually, but on their cover, they set out to tell the story.
Yeah. Who knows? With the popularity, maybe they'll say, well, we can milk this for a little bit longer.
We were talking about Stray Dogs. Like, that was supposed to be 6 issues, and then it blew up, and then they were like, well, we can tell some more Stray Dog stories, outside of this.
Yeah. I mean, we talked to them on the channel, like, but I think I was telling you this, between like issue 2 and 3.
Yep.
And we're like, is there going to be more? We're going to get stray cats? Are we going to build up the world? And at the time, they knew there was going to be like the free comic book day thing in the future, and potentially other stuff, but they couldn't say.
Yeah.
So it was even after like 2 issues, it was kind of greenlit to tell some other stories in that world. But
which is awesome.
Yeah. Popularity definitely allows you to say, maybe I can look at this other part of the world that I wasn't going to do, but I wanted to.
Right.
So that's
right. Yeah.
Really cool.
Well, then in our case, I mean, Blood Moon is already kind of verbally insinuated, like, if we want to do more, we can do more, because they've been really pleased with the book, and and then the feedback that they've heard from people who've picked it up, that, hey, this is cool, we enjoy it, and it's not just the bugs. It was very much it's kind of got like a Walking Dead-ish kind of theme to it, where, like, in the Walking Dead, the Walking Dead are actually not the zombies in that story, or the survivors that are in there.
Yeah.
And in Endangered, the zombies in that comic become more of a backdrop, like a constant threat that sets the tone of the world. But there becomes all these other dynamics with these other threats that they encounter, and things that, put them at risk other than zombies. And so in that regard, we kind of have a similar thing. The bugs are there. Not all of them are mean. Some of them are like beetles and stuff, aren't going to kill you. They're just the size of
but they could run you over on accident.
They could run you over or horn you, if you got out of line. But so there are other things that are coming down the pipe in the series. It's not just 8 issues of people fighting insects. There's definitely a lot of bug fights in there. Some bug victories, some human victories. It's kind of goes back and forth. No one is safe in this world, as they should be in a story like this. But I'm excited about where we're going with it, and we're going to get to explore some themes that I really wanted to kind of get into as we started talking about, the conceptualizing the story.
Yeah. So with, entering the world of comics and starting out here, what brought you to Blood Moon Comics?
That was a funny story, man. When I put this together, I told Nathan, when we started talking about it, he decided to come on board. I was like, sweet. And then we went out and got Ron and then the rest of the team behind him. And I was like, man, there's probably in history never been a better time to kind of try to come out with an independent comic book. And I still think that's true because I feel like more people are taking chances with indie books now than in the ever. I mean, there've always been independent titles, but if you go back and you dig some of those books up from the 80s, the independent books back in those days, barring, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Usagi Yojimbo and things like that.
Yeah.
Even though those books were printed in the six figures, which is not the case nowadays, I don't feel that they garnered the audience as much. Everybody was really focusing on like DC, even like when these big publishers launched these imprints, like what was the one Marvel did? Epic Comics, I think, or
Okay.
something like that, where they did these offshoots. Or was it Epic the one that Jim Starlin did? What's his face? God, the guy that he
picture Epic. There was a whole like bunch of random characters, but I don't remember if that was Marvel or not.
Well, anyways, my point was that like they were doing that, and I
Yeah.
don't feel like a lot of people were really like engaging in those, as opposed to now. And it's you probably go back and think Image, even though Image these days are probably as big, if not bigger, than Marvel and DC as far as what they're selling.
They're right up there now.
They're pretty big, but they kind of paved the way. I feel like a lot for this modern renaissance or this platform for people to come really from anywhere and tell their independent story. So my thing with Nathan, I was like, man, this is a perfect time to come out with an independent comic. But when we actually had it finished and went to come out, that's when I realized that there were, from the business side of things, it wasn't the best time to try to get picked up by one, because this was 2021, really, the end of 2020. No, it was early, either end of 2021, like December-ish, or very early 2022. But there was all this stuff going on in comics that a lot of people weren't aware of, because COVID had come out. Even though a lot of these companies were seeing record sales, there was all this weird stuff going on, like these possible mergers. Dark Horse sold off the majority of their company to an international firm somewhere. I think Chinese company or something picked up the majority of Dark Horse. There were these rumblings that some of these smaller publishers might get absorbed by others. Then there's this paper shortage. So when we went to pitch the book, I realized then I pitched it and I was like, man, I'm not really hearing a whole lot back from these folks, And then I started talking to some friends who are pros in the industry, and I kind of got the impression that there was this, everyone were kind of circling their wagons, like they weren't really taking chances on like no name creative teams. They were, like Boom and companies like that. They were still making books, but if you paid attention to what they were making making Tynan books, I mean, people whose names along Al Ewing, people like that, people whose names can safely sell X amount of books, So we had a little bit of a trouble, a little bit of difficulty getting a publisher to pay attention to us, and it was to the point where I was getting kind of frustrated because we had the first issue done, and I was like, man, I really didn't want to do the crowdfunding thing with it. I really wanted to go to have an opportunity to get it into previews. That was my big thing. I wanted someone to get it into previews. I didn't really even honestly care at that point who it was. So fast forward where I literally have a conversation with Anna Seitz, who's the editor of the book, and credited editor of the book. And we were talking that day, and I was like, man, if I have to do something to get Nathan some of his money back, because I was incredibly indebted to him, and very appreciative that he took the chance to pay for this book. And I happened to go. I was at work that night, and I happened to get onto Twitter, and the Twitter Spaces were going, and I saw one pop up that said, "Let's talk indie comics," and I was like, hell yeah. And so I was all fired up, because I couldn't get any feedback from these publishers over the course of a couple of months. And so I went in there and I started rambling about, writing and talking and being frustrated. And it just so happened that Keith, the CEO, I think his title is, of Blood Moon, was in that space. And he heard what I was talking about. And he was like, hey, man, we're looking to pick up some new stuff. So I sent him a message after it was over with and sent him the script, and he loved it. And we did a contract after that. So, nice. Blood Moon, winding up with Blood Moon was about as serendipitous as you could get. Cause I'm telling you, it was happened in the evening, like 3 hours after I had this long conversation where I felt like the only future for us was to do a crowdfunding thing,
Which, I mean, I feel like it could have done really well on crowdfunding too, but
Yeah, I'm not
it's
knocking
good that
those.
yeah. No, I know what you're saying there. Is like you had this like vision of where you wanted it to go was to get it into previews, and that just lined up right
Like
at
my
the time.
ambition, honestly, Jeremy, my ambition is to come into with Endangered and then the next stuff that I do from that. And I want to do this. I want to do comics professionally, not on the side,
Oh, yeah.
And I felt like, and I might be wrong, but it's not like if you can't accomplish that same destination by crowdfunding comic books, but I felt like to get where I wanted to go, I'm going to need to do a book with an image, or honestly, at this point, I have no ambition of writing any of the legacy characters for Marvel and DC. That's never anything I wanted to do, but I have my own stories I want to tell, but I want to tell them with level up basically as the
Right.
projects come out. And I felt like the best way to do that was to go this route where you're dealing with distributors and you're building relationships with local comic shops around the country. You don't get
Oh,
that
yeah.
experience on a crowdfunding thing. I feel like you're
Right.
dealing with a self-contained audience. And again, please, anybody out there that crowdfunds comics, understand I'm not knocking what you're doing. I just feel like I felt for me, my strategy, the best way to accomplish it was to get this experience with a nationally distributed book,
Yeah.
through a publishing imprint, eat some of the frustrations that I'm eating now that I'm sure everyone else has dealt with before, in the past. So I feel like all of those battle scars you get, you have to have that to open these doors, because
Right.
anyone can make a comic these days, and everyone should make a comic these days if you're inspired to do so. But there's still locked doors, the bigger access. Like we talked a little bit on Saturday, like when you get that eye on the top corner of your front cover, that image eye, that's an X amount of sales almost guaranteed. Like there's a lot of people out there who collect image books and they really pay attention to image in those distribution catalogs. And when they see a new title that's ordered, shops,
Right.
people on pull lists, they don't even if they know the teams or not really, So to get to that level, I felt like this was the best way to accomplish that.
And I would say you did something even more so to try to help build those relationships. You called all of the comic shops that you could get a hold of.
There's a lot.
Yeah. And how long did it take to contact all of them?
Dude, I started that, and this was like hours every day. I would say for that issue 1 push before it came out, trying to let them know that it existed and point out page 262 of the previous catalog and all that. It was probably 2 straight weeks of 2 to 4 hours a day, sometimes just calling people and having the same conversation over. Hey, my name's Jon McCarthy. I'm the writer and creator of a new book you've never heard of. But on page 262 in the previews catalog, there's a 1 in 5 variant that you don't see on the Diamond website, but I promise you it's there. Then you have talked to somebody cool, or sometimes they're not very cool. Most of the time they are. And then you hang up the phone, and then you're going through your list, and you call the next one. It's the same thing. It's just over and over and over again. But I like talking to comic book shop, folks, if they're cool. Some of them are assholes, but the majority are super cool people who are pretty receptive. And it was really cool I was really surprised, honestly, about how many shops I talked to around the nation, and they were like, "Hey, man, we love indie creators." And I was also equally surprised of how few creators do that. Like, a lot seemed genuinely appreciative that I made the effort to make a phone call, as opposed to sit back and rest on my laurels, But again, that's my goal and my vision as a comic book creator is to not just do Endangered and be finished with it. I mean, I've set this up for a long time to get this opportunity, and it's about leveling up. Is the best way to honestly explain it for me.
Yeah. Well, and then when the next one comes out, you've already built a little bit of a relationship with some of those shops, at least, and they'll recognize your name. You call them again, they'll say, "I remember you. You put Endangered out," or Hopefully, that's what they say.
The free comic book day thing will really help that as well, man. Because When I was talking to Blood Moon, I think he told me the minimums to participate in that is like 70,000 issues have to be printed. I think that's the minimum. So that's a lot of comic books, going all over the place, so you're going to get a lot of people see it, a lot of shops see it. And the most important thing, there's a couple of things that are most important. Hopefully the story is well received and people like it from start to finish, but that ability to deliver a finished, sequential story like that, that carries a lot of weight, I think, on your resume when you go to speak to these other publishers, and they're like, oh, you've done this before. Because they get approached constantly, I'm sure, by people who haven't done it before. Absolutely. And a lot of people, I think, and even me, honestly, and I had done a comic before, like self-published one like 10 years ago. But even I going into this had a lot of assumptions that I've learned were not accurate. You think things are going to go a certain type of way and they don't. And the ability to kind of ride out that maelstrom that you find yourself in and get through the other side of it. I think bigger publishers and people who have that larger access or that larger spotlight to them, they appreciate those types of things that you went through that, I think, and it helps you a lot. It's hard to get with those guys without that experience.
Well, also, they can say, okay, you kept to your deadlines, you got this released on time, you guys as a team. If, like you said, you keep your team together and you go and do something else, that'll count so much for that.
I think so, and it's all like theoretical at this point. You don't know what the future is going to hold, but that was my mindset when I decided that's a long. I'm notorious for giving like really long answers to really short questions. Like I get
no, that's okay.
30 minutes later, I'm answering that's how we got with Blood Moon. That was the goal. That's why I did crowdfunding.
Yeah. Hey, make my job easier. I just sit here and say, this is awesome.
I like to talk.
I don't have to ask as many questions. Now I'm out of questions. No, I'm just kidding. So future for Endangered, we're in the thick of things with just getting the world without, I guess, spoiling what's coming up.
Sure.
Types of things do we have to look forward to? I mean, we talked about it's not just fighting bugs. I guess I don't want to spoil things, but there is like that spoiler at the end of 2.
Yeah. That there are people down here.
Yeah. I mean, you think about it. Okay, the world gets nuked all over the place. There's going to be pockets where people are going to survive.
And in this area that they're in, that this is all taking place in, was an area that avoided a direct strike. We're going to address that a little bit later on in the second half of the series on how that came to be. But there wasn't a direct missile strike here. So the whole vaporizing the world didn't occur in this geographical area that they've chosen to return to on purpose. So you would have some people survive, man. Listen, and when I was researching all of this, because it's science fiction, so you want to have at least some kind of science go with your fiction. At some point, inevitably, you have to suspend disbelief when I'm telling you that there are spiders the size of cars running around. But to get to that point, they're not that
cute though.
That's a little bit symbolic. They're not that.
I know.
Not kaiju.
Not quite as big as the world, but
But I'm sure I'm on some kind of watch list, man, because I did a lot of research on thermonuclear destruction, and how all that stuff works. But people don't with one of those things where to hit. It's not everyone on Earth is not going to get annihilated. If they start falling regular, that's when the problem arises. But if you're outside of a certain area, I mean, and honestly, that whole vaporizing thing that's only for a very narrow area around the thing hits. Usually what kills you outside of that is this concussion and then eventually the fallout and all that kind of stuff. But so it's very probable that you would have people surviving. I always joke around and say, if that ever were to happen in real life, I want that thing to land on top of my head. I do not want to survive in some Mad Max fucking post-apocalyptic. Giant bugs or not, I don't. Take me out, dude. Early, I don't even want to be a part of that mess. But so in the future of the series, what you find out is there are pockets of human beings that have survived on Earth. Some of them are cool, some of them are not. Some of them are crazy, Some of them are not so crazy, but some of them are pretty vicious. They've kind of a lot of them, in my theory at least, they kind of devolved a bit to more of a tribal type mindset,
So,
very strength. Only the strong survive.
yeah.
And,
So some are like Negan and the Governor.
Yeah. You
and
have
some
to have
are like
that.
Hilltop or
the Sanctuary is the
Sanctuary.
Yeah, so you're gonna have your
tie back to that.
Yeah, well, you're gonna have that. I feel like, and they start running out of food at a certain point, and then you know.
Do we get spider barbecues?
Exactly where I was going. They start running out of their rations and what's available. Well, there's all this gigantic walking protein around now. If you can take one down, that's a lot of food supply. So eventually, so when they come back down here, and that was what I kind of spoke to earlier, is I'm really looking forward to being able to explore this kind of juxtaposition of two core groups of people, one who are incredibly technologically based, because the people who have survived in space at this point, they've just been innovating. That's where all the smart people were like, yeah. So all the smart people up there have been surviving with technology and not having to exert themselves physically, while you have this group down here who have devolved. Like, guns don't work. Guns make noise attracts bugs. So eventually they learn that the best thing, they have to go back to bladed weapons or projectiles that don't make a lot of noise. So you've had this kind of de-evolution technologically back to a more primal era and a mindset that devolves with that. And then you have these sophisticated nerds, basically all the smart people who've continued to survive up on space without needing anything, fully fed when they need to, cafeterias to sit down and eat at your trays. Well, so when those two groups of people meet, I feel like there's a lot of fun stuff that you can kind of explore there, because there's probably going to be some resentment, and there's probably going to be a lot of animosity. Like, the space people are like, hey, we're here to help you. And these people are like,
we don't need you.
This is our
We're good.
Yeah, this is our here. You guys are true, so that's kind of where the second half of the series is headed towards. So getting to kind of play around in that world, and then also keeping the threat of these insects constantly around and introducing new species. We have, if you look in the credits page of that book, we actually have, she's credited in every issue because she helps me with every issue. She's a PhD entomologist, Dr. Helen Hull Sanders. So we have a literal doctor of bugology, for those who aren't familiar with entomology, contributing on the book. So I'm constantly reaching out to her and getting cool bug facts and trying to incorporate. And she's always like, you got to have ant lions. You got to have this bug. You got to have that bug, and I'm like, I have to stop her sometimes. I'm like, Helen, I don't want each issue to just be, let's feature a new bug. But, you also don't want to make it constantly spiders, different species of spiders. There's all kind of fun stuff to play with.
What's the bug of the week?
Yeah. Bug of the week.
Monster of the week. We got bug of the week.
Right. So we introducing some new characters. Just about every issue, every issue you'll get to meet. There's new characters that are coming in. Goes back to the respecting the collectability of the comic book. It's not done purposefully, but it is kind of subconsciously. You know what a key issue is, and you want to make your books. Typically, key issues are interesting because there's something new that happens in there. Somebody dies, or some new. So again, that's not the goalpost that I'm aiming for when I'm writing, but it is in the back of my mind. So each issue, you kind of have some new, fresh stuff going on. And when you're telling a story in the confines of an 8-issue thing, I feel like you should be able to make each issue in that pretty rich, with content. And
there's a lot going on in this world already, and a lot more I can see happening with knowing what we've talked about, what the world has in store for it already out there.
I think I'm probably going to go back at some point, and we're going to go do a little bit of I'm not a huge flashback fan, but I have had a couple of people bring it up when issue 1 came out. It was like, actually kids who read it and were like, what was it like on Earth when the shit touched the fan blade for the first moment? You see it in the very first page of issue 1, but it's just in
New Orleans.
Yeah, it's just in like 5 panels or 6 panels or whatever we did that with. but kind of go back and show a little bit of like from a different perspective what it was like in that moment, and then lead that into modern, into current events and stuff. But issue 4 ends on a pretty big, like, well, that's not good, so what's
Come
coming
back.
what's
Come back.
happening here, so you got a nice little cliffhanger that 4 will drop off on, and then we're going to pick it back up, and it's literally, dude, I feel like once we hit issue 2, you put your foot on the gas pedal on the story, and
Yeah.
it really, the goal was to never really let up till it ends. And I feel like we're, at least thus far, we're able to keep that momentum and that pace with it and make it entertaining and fun to read.
Absolutely. So with the giveaway tonight, we've got 2 books. I kind of want to do 2 different ways of doing this. I want to give one out to the people here in the live chat.
That's your A cover.
This is the A cover.
Yep.
And then one, I think I want to do as like commenting on the video, and we'll draw the winner in like a week or so.
Don't let Nathan exclude Nathan Jared from that contest. He's forbidden. He should not have access.
He's already got his copies.
Yes, he did.
So let's do this for people here in the chat right now. This these cute little eyes there. As it kills you. No macaroons included tonight. There were macaroons that looked like this spider at my comic shop when they did the signing.
Funny story about that cover, and I'll include this in the trade paperback. But when Ron, because that cover is actually done by Ron Joseph, the penciler, and in that issue he's the inker. We brought on an inker in the second issue, and then for the rest of the series. But Ron penciled and inked that issue, and that was his cover. We're going to have him do a cover for every issue, even the ones that we're doing the variants with. He'll be doing the A cover for them all. But his initial submission to that was kind of rough sketches. I was like, dude, this looks like a damn Disney spider. I'm like, we need to make it a little bit more menacing. And even still to this day, people are like, oh, he's so cute. So.
Yeah. Which also, I don't know. I feel like that also adds some. People are going to pick it up and say, "Oh, this looks interesting."
Yeah, I hope so. That was the goal. But I'm gonna have the evolution of that image from cuteness to how that'll all be fun features in the trade that we're going to be releasing this fall.
So let me pull up. I've got like a randomizer thing that I can pull up.
I haven't seen any questions, by the way. Apologize. I'm on the.
I haven't seen any. We've got people watching that they must just be silently watching.
Sorry.
Just Nathan and Lewis in there. But yeah, anybody has questions for Jon, drop them in the chat.
I will answer any question you ask me.
Yeah, he did a great job on that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And then Robbie's cover obviously was amazing. There's another little bit of news I can share. Was we again, the curse of the rollout bug continued to bite us in the ass for issue 4. Robbie did. I've already released it on the Instagram page. Anyone here can go check it out. Endangered Comic on Instagram. But we did an Akira homage for issue 4 that is awesome, and it's the same artist, Robbie Musso, who did that issue 1 variant. Diamond they weren't able to get it into Diamond, so instead of going that route again, issue 4, unfortunately or fortunately, however you look at it, there will only be the A cover for it, and then we're going to be using that Akira variant for issue 5 when that kicks back off.
Gotta wait longer on that.
I know. I know. Trust me, that was. I think Blood Moon realized how upset I was about that.
What if we did like
part of the free comic book day discussion?
I mean, if you don't want to wait, then that's it right there.
Yeah.
So, can always do it as like an exclusive cover out there.
We were talking about it. Yeah, we might still change our mind, but I don't know what I want to get it out there because I want it to people to be able to have it, because that way it complements so well Robbie's Transformers homage that he did. All Our Dead one. That book, whoever wins that one is really getting a cool book, because that thing sold out everywhere that got those. Yeah, it sold out like instantaneous, and that was around the country. Those went really freaking fast, which was awesome.
So let's talk about how to get this. Drop hashtag Endangered into the chat, and you will be entered.
Whichever way it is.
Yeah, depending on how their screen is, it might be down here, it might be over there. So if you are watching and you're interested, drop that hashtag Endangered. Lewis, I know you're watching still.
Come on, Lewis. Hashtag endangered.
He's usually lurking, and kind of doing his stuff at the same time.
We'll be doing ways too periodically throughout the pages. You know, this the social media stuff for the book. I'm going to probably be I will be making. I'm going to be doing that Akira as a shirt soon. We're getting close to 300 followers on Instagram. So once we hit 300, I'll give away something, maybe some signed book or something like that.
All right. So far we got one entry. Lewis is guaranteed to win at the moment.
I like your odds, Lewis.
There's more people watching. They even got one over on Twitch watching right now. So
what's happening in land?
But those that are interested in winning this, we will. What I'll do is same thing after the video is done. You can drop a comment on the video. You're gonna put hashtag endangered. We'll share this over on Instagram as well. Let you guys know. Come over to the video. Drop hashtag endangered if you want to win this. And then
I can authenticate those signatures as being real.
Yeah.
You don't need a COA. I'll be your COA. Those are real, both of them. I was there. I witnessed them.
It is a verbal COA.
Verbal COAs, exactly. I love that cover. I love Ron's cover too, but that cover there was. I always love that 80s Smart Bright Transformers cover, and that one was a lot. He knocked that out of the park. And then I cannot leave out Jorge Martinez, our colorist over in España in Spain. He colors all of this stuff, so that really Robbie gives Hav as much credit for that image as he gives himself, because he knocks it out of the park. And he was new, man. He was a hidden gem we kind of found. He done a couple of like little small comic projects in Spain, but this was like his first like American comic that he's done. I can damn sure guarantee it won't be his last, because as long as we don't burn him out.
Yeah. Oh, especially if you guys keep working with him, then let me change the banner here to say give it a minute here.
Oh, and if you're not already, you guys, if you're on TikTok and you're not following Sparks Comics, I just checked before the show, you're 4 away from $1 grand.
Yeah.
4 away from 1,000. 1,000, you get to go live on there, so you can start doing some of these on TikTok if you wanted to. You know?
That is true. I could set this up and like film this from here and just go live on TikTok. You know, I see people on there doing like they'll do Twitch streaming, but then they'll be filming themselves on TikTok as well at the same time.
Hey,
kind of multitasking.
You're killing it.
I don't know how.
I think you're moving in the right direction. That's what I was telling you Saturday, man. I think what you're doing for these kind of conversations and giving people like me and Jonathan Chanson and the guys like that a platform to speak about our work is incredibly beneficial and very much appreciated, I know, by me and the other guys that you've had on here, man. So thank you for what you're doing. A lot of people, I feel like, chase the low-hanging fruit when they decide they want to start doing covering comic content or creating comic content on these platforms, and they typically go after the more popular books and stuff like that. I feel like that's the easier way to go. So for you to make the effort and create a platform for indie creators of smaller books and stuff, it's really awesome, man.
I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the content out there is like you're saying, it's all about speculation and where's the prices of the books going and things like that. And I don't care about that too much. I sell comics, you know, to mainly because my room is filled with comics and I have to get them out of here. Right. But I don't pay attention to what's popular, what's doing. I just sell stuff that I want to get rid of.
Yeah, fund itself. That's how you do it, man.
Right. And so what I care more about is the story and talking to the people who create the story, kind of finding out what you guys went through building the story, putting it out there. I mean, even like we were talking about, just the process, getting it from you guys, you having an idea, to Nathan saying, hey, I can help you get an artist on this, and then getting it to Blood Moon.
Well, let's not give Nathan too much credit. All he did was say, I'll put money behind this.
I can help you get an artist by putting some money behind it.
I'll pay for an artist and you go find one. Yeah. So.
Yeah. But I guess Lewis is the only comment. So Lewis, I'm gonna send this to you. I don't even need to run a
There you go,
randomizer for
Lewis. I
that.
told you I liked his odds.
Lewis is great. You got to get
Glad
Lewis
you
to
get-
make you a clay spider, clay figure or something.
Hey, I'm open, brother. Listen, I've always tell people one of our biggest champions for this book, which has been incredibly awesome, is Eric Robertson. You know, co-creator of The Boys and Transmetropolitan and a million other comic book credits behind his name. He's read the book so far, and he's liked it enough to kind of shout it out on Twitter and give us some reviews and stuff like that. And he made a post the other day, like, grab these before it becomes a movie, and you won't be able to. I'm like, dude, that would be awesome. But honestly, like, when people ask me that kind of stuff, my goal is to see an Endangered action figure line, because this shit would make a sick toy line, dude. Like the old back in the 80s, there was a nice. I agree with you, Lewis. There were these old toy line called Sectars, and it would come with an action figure, and then it would come with a bug. The figures were pretty corny, the Sectar people were corny. But I was like, we could do that with this, where you can, Sectars.
Well, this is Lewis.
Oh, that's Lewis's work?
Yeah.
Let's see it that closely. What is this on Instagram?
This is on Instagram. He's the same name you see there, Shadow Rabbit Clay Guy.
Sweet.
I was trying to find, because you're talking about Derek Robertson, who I think we were talking about. He made, he was the artist on, Space Bastards.
Yeah, Space Bastards, yeah.
So Lewis has made a couple figures for the Space Bastards writers. Man, it's been a while now, I guess. Oh, here's Roy Sharpton.
Nice. Has Derek seen these? Do you know?
I don't know, but
I'll direct him on.
I wouldn't be surprised if he has, because Eric and Joe, all we're friends with them. Like, we've had them on here. We hung out with Eric at Baltimore Comic-Con last year, like karaoke. So like the writers we became friends with, just talking about stuff, and there's their Instagram right there.
It's a weird fire. A really weird world of.
Look who else is on here, Jonathan.
Hey, there he is.
It's too funny. But yeah, if you're looking for like a custom thing for yourself, even to kind of be like,
hell yeah, I'm gonna have to look Lewis up on Instagram. Let's get out here.
Yeah. He does some cool stuff. So shout out to Lewis he's always supporting me. So I'm always throwing him some support too.
Hell yeah, man. I can never remember the saying, but it's something about the tide lifts all ships or something like that. So that's how I feel like, if feel like we're all kind of hitting it, coming into this type of stuff at the same time. Like, you're kind of gaining some steam as a content creator on the social media platforms. Our books are coming up. So, and I feel like there's a group before us that did that, so I feel like it's cool, man, when you come in with people, because you're like the freshman class in this world or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And
right. Yeah. If you think about like there's like the well-known content creators out there, like Comic Tom, Gem Mint, that like they all started around the same time.
Yeah.
And they're all like big names now. I don't care if I have a big name. I don't really want a big name. I'm not cool with, I don't know. I don't feel comfortable with like random people knowing me too well, but if it helps, indie comic creators get their book out there more, then that I like.
That's what I was saying, man. We were on page 262 of that catalog, and that was in the B's. So there was a lot that came behind those, So
I think the thing that helped me was, you came to Crescent City and dropped off stuff, and so that helped me having the local connection to find you, and because I had not heard of Blood Moon really until that.
Yeah.
And then I knew Jonathan already, and then I saw Jonathan, and so there was like back to back, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Here's Blood Moon. And I'm like, all right, they're on the map for me now.
Right. And so when folks are out there and you're in comic shops and you're looking at stuff, man, I would never begrudge anyone for not buying Spider-Man or Batman comic books, but if you want to take a chance and you flip through that catalog, sometimes you'll find something fun in those weeds back there with the deep stuff is at. There's like Joseph Schmalke's a guy that's kind of existed in that world for a long time, telling pretty cool stories, So take a chance on it. Pick up an indie book, have it. If you have a subscription, add it to your subscription and roll the dice and see what happens. I mean, but I can promise you, anyone who puts a comic book out and actually does it and sees it through to the end, it's a lot of work. It's a lot, you can't half-ass. I mean, I guess you can half-ass it, but if it's decent, there's a lot of work and effort that goes in behind that. So all the places like what you're doing and the folks also who buy them in the shops and make the stores comfortable to order them, it really helps out a lot. It means a lot,
Absolutely. I was just, I have like a list of my pools. It's insanely long.
Yeah.
But if you, let me see if I can pull this up easily. Okay. Let's scroll down.
This is your pull list?
Oh yeah. It's
wow.
It's too long. But it's, so many different publishers on here.
Damn, that looks like an LCS's pull list.
So like a lot of these, I'm like, okay, this one hasn't come out yet. Like anything underlined, not come out yet. But yeah, they're like the books that, we got Blood Moon right here. Blue Juice is another small one that does about like 1, maybe 2 books at a time. Relatively newer. So there's just all these small publishers where I've got 1 or 2 books. And of course, I
one
love
coming out.
Children,
I saw on Twitter today that I think they signed with Blood Moon. God, Jason's his first name. I can't pronounce his last name, but it's shit. I'll tag you in it. It's something about Vikings in the snow or Dead in the Snow or something like that. And I think they might have started that on a crowdfunding thing, but it looks really, really cool. But yeah, I think they're doing some good stuff, and they got some good stuff coming. I think they might be growing faster than they're able to. They're going to need to add some staff here at some point. Keep bringing these titles on, but
I'll say that's one thing. I look at their website and I think they need a web designer over here because that will help them.
It's a very small operation as far as behind the scenes there,
right? Because it's just is it just Keith and Lawrence?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And Keith is the CEO, and it's like the assistant to the regional manager from the office. It's not like really a title if you're the only person there.
Right.
But I know the plans are there and the things are in motion for them. But listen, man, just like what you're doing, with your content and showcasing indie creators, what they're doing and giving a platform and giving an avenue for people to at least have the opportunity, like we like what we've had, to get into the world of comics and become a published comic book author. I mean, that's important as well, So you have to have the guys out there when the bigger ones are really kind of focusing their efforts. The bigger indie publishers are focusing their efforts on big name creators and not really opening the door for smaller creators,
Even some of the ones that I felt like did maybe open that door a little bit more in the past. I love Aftershock comics, but I feel like a lot of them is some of the same names, like Paul Tobin, Ed Brisson. I think I've seen a couple times with them. Like some names that have been out there for a little bit.
And I get it, and it's a business. Story. The one thing quickly when you get into this is a business.
Yeah.
So listen, it's a safe bet when you, like I said, if you can sign the next James Tynion book, the next Kieran Gillen indie book that they're doing, versus it's like, okay, I can get Kieran Gillen's next project or Jon McCarthy's next project. I mean, if I'm owning the company, I'm like, well, let's do this one.
Right.
So I'm gonna have some money coming in.
Yeah, I mean, and Scout does a good job, I think, too, of getting some of those news stories. They do a lot of stories come out from them.
They really seem like they're on the move, big time. I was talking to someone about them today, about Scout, and I was like, man, I don't know if they're just like really doing awesome and they're growing because they're doing awesome, or if they've bitten off more than they can chew and it's going to explode on itself. I don't know, but they're doing a lot of cool stuff, dude. Like I had a chance to talk to those guys in San Diego, and the titles they're putting out is a lot. I know they're doing like their subscription box now where you can do that with those guys.
I get those.
Yeah.
they even like they have a mix now of like they're still bringing in new names, but then they're bringing in like who is it? Like there's one that's got like an actor or something tied to the book. It was like I don't even remember anymore. Eternus, I think Eternus was the book. I can't remember who the actor was though on it.
Was it Wesley Snipes?
No, that's the Exiled, and that's going to be
Yeah.
coming from Whatnot Publishing.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, they started.
So, yeah, so I think that one hasn't hit previous catalogs yet, but there's big names popping up with all the indie companies, which is cool because that puts a spotlight on those indie companies and allows them to put more books out there like yours.
My thing is, I wish that there would be more of a. If I could request anything from publishers out there, and I learned this the hard way when I did my book. You know, when I was dealing with literary publishers, I learned because I'd signed up a publishing contract, and part of that was deal was I had to give the publisher whatever I did next. So I wrote an entire second book behind that, and I thought it was going to be massive. I mean, it was a good idea. So I decided I needed to try to find a literary agent. Well, I won't tie you up long with this story, but ultimately what I found out are literary agents and larger publishers are much like comic book publishers, and they operate if their submissions are open, you pitch to them, and they all pretty much operate under this same thing. If we like it, we'll get back to you. If we don't, we won't. You won't have any idea if we received it. Just assume we did and don't bother us again. So that's kind of how they operated. But I had one literary agent respond to me, and I was really frustrated because I'm like, this is a solid concept, I feel like. And she goes, listen, let me break it down to you how the book business works. It's a business. She goes, have you ever wondered why you see so many reality stars with best-selling books? It's not because they can write well. She said, book publishers are struggling to make money. They don't give a shit if you write the next War and Peace. They're not going to read it. What they do is the first thing they look at is what they call the author platform, was the term that she used. And I was like, well, what does that mean? And she goes, ultimately, what it means is they do a quick survey of your online presence and your social media and your celebrity amount to basically determine, they factor it into an algorithm and say, we can anticipate to sell X amount of copies off of this person's name. They don't care if the book sucks or not. And I wish that with comics, there would be more of an effort. And I'm not saying they don't do this, but as opposed to going after the big names with the guaranteed sales, I feel like there's a room to do that, but also take some time and look for good content, not just the names of the creators. But I also understand you're getting 1 million submissions and it requires staff and time and eyeballs to do that, you know? So it's a weird, one of those weird things. Just like I said before, it's a business, and you can't get into any sort of artistic endeavor, be it acting, music, movies, comics, whatever, with thin skin, because you're going to get consumed by the rejection and the no's and all of that stuff. You have to be, you have to have some wherewithal and stand your ground and not be willing to give up on your dreams and your goals.
Absolutely. Good advice out there for people looking to get into comics or writing of any kind.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep you too late. But we've been on here for a little while. We got all the kinks worked out. The internet's been working for the last hour, I'd say.
We're
so rolling. That was awesome. But thank you again for coming on and talking, and
thank you so much
donating the books to give away to people.
Absolutely.
Like I said, this one, after we stop the live, drop a comment, #Endangered if you want to enter to win this. I'll post over on Instagram, let people know to come over here, enter the giveaway. It's such a cool cover that Robbie did.
Yeah.
And it's a great read. So get it, read it, and find that issue 2 out there somewhere, or get the trade when it comes out.
There are 2s available. I can point you in the directions. I know some people that have some still, and you can still find them. The print run was low, but I know some folks that ordered a chunk of them, and they haven't sold out yet. But so we can get them to you, or digitally.
There we go. And I've got your Twitter and Instagram and the Endangered Instagram linked down below, so go follow them on all the social medias. Any last words?
No, man. I just wanted to say to everyone out there who's picked up the book or who's listened to us talk tonight, I really appreciate it. It really means a lot. the support. We made this book for comic book fans to enjoy, and for those who are willing to throw their $4 every month and pick up the books as they come out. It means a lot to us, and we really appreciate it. Our goal is to entertain you beyond $4, so hopefully we've accomplished that. And again, Jeremy, thank you for the platform that you've created and you built here for what you're doing, man, and for having me on. It's really awesome, and I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And like Lewis said, I'll only talk about quality books, quality people. So thank you for making a great book.
Yes.
It's great meeting you in person the other day at Crescent City.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
look forward to the rest of the story.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, brother.
Absolutely.
Thanks
Again, everyone watching, and we'll catch you next time.